So I thought I would do a bit of maintenance on the roof at the new house today, because I noticed when we were building the extension a while back that the edges of it were getting a bit rusty, and if they rust away then we're going to have rather an expense, because this roof is an insulated roof. Oh, I can't show you really very much, but what I thought was I'd get some paint that doesn't need any primer, anti-rust paint, and just touch in the edges. And the first problem I had was that the step ladder is not really high enough for me to stand up on it in a stable condition, and the other ladder's got nowhere to lean because you can't lean against the gutters because they're thin metal. So I've tied the two together, and I'm hoping that will give me a sturdy and safe feeling platform or ladder to work from, because I've got to step up on this step here, which is the second from the top of the step ladder. And I'm not very good on ladders. I don't like heights. I'm very unstable and a bit nervous, so I've got no confidence. So I need something that's really, really sturdy and allows me to work without thinking about that aspect of the job. So anyway, I've got some straps. I've got loads of these straps. They're always useful for all different sorts of things, on the farm and in the car and when I'm taking bikes around. I've literally got probably about 15 of these straps, and as you know, I'm using 3 of them at the moment at the old house to strap up the post, pending a more permanent solution, which is in the post. Anyway, this does seem to be pretty good. The 2 ladders are now one unit. There's 4 separate straps on there, and I can make sure they're tight every time I go up and down. But you know, you always think you've got a plan and it's all ready. Months ago I bought this paint. Months and months ago I bought this paint, and I kept it in a corner in the garage, and when I've come to open it today I've discovered that it's been used and 3/4 of it has gone. I think it's been used on the posts in the garage, and I think I'm the one that actually did it, to be honest. So I obviously forgot that this was the paint I'd reserved for the roof, so I've got very little paint in there actually. But I'm going to crack on with the job and see how far I go with it, because I'm not going to need very much. And if I have to order some more, then Lazada will benefit, because that's where I got it from. This is supposed to be anti-rust, no primer needed. I thought it was water-based, I have to say, when I bought it, but it's not. It clearly smells of spirits, and the instructions say that you should use thinners if you want to thin it out. So I'm not quite sure what's going on there, but I definitely ordered a grey to match the roof, and I definitely ordered one that was no primer needed. So I don't know, I must have misread the description, or maybe the description was wrong. And I did think that a water-based paint wouldn't be very good, but maybe I changed my mind and went for the oil-based one to do the job well. Yeah, I'm sure now, thinking out loud, talking on this video, that that's what happened. I saw 2 products. One was water-based, which is supposed to be, you know, anti-rust, and I thought, well, it can't be. If it's water-based, it's going to be subject to the weather far more than an oil-based paint. So I reckon that's what happened. So we'll get that mixed up, and then get up the ladder and clean off the edge of the roof and get going. This is a recipe for disaster, isn't it? Going to end up dropping this paint. That's one advantage of having a paint pot that's actually pretty empty, is you can balance it in places without it toppling over. Now you see the edge of this roof. This is 2 years old now and it's just starting to show signs of rust. So I think it's an opportune time to do a little bit of preventative maintenance. And all I want to do is just touch in that edge, really. Just give it a bit of prep with a washing up pad just to clean it off a little bit. I'm not going to go over the top on this job because I don't feel comfortable working at height, and I'm not really prepared to spend the rest of my life painting this roof. I just want to do some preventative maintenance that's going to give it a little bit more longevity. Or is it longevity? How do you pronounce that word? Most of the rust is coming off as I'm rubbing it, so that's an encouraging sign. It sort of suggests that it's not really a mega serious problem yet. Anyway, you get the idea. I'll crack on and show you how I've got on with the first section when it's done. Well, there you go. It's a little bit rough, I know. I don't really think there's any way I can get a nice finish, but it's sort of irrelevant, isn't it? Because it's not really in sight. The reason I bought grey paint in the first place, when we were building the new extension room around the other side of the house, was because when you actually went up into the room you could see the roof. So I thought, well, I need to buy grey if I'm going to touch up the edge. Obviously it's just as well we can't see it because it's a completely different grey. It looks very different to the colour on the tin, but irrespective of the colour, I hope that it's going to do the job of just giving it a little bit more life before it gets to serious rust problems. So I shall carry along the whole roof like this, and hopefully the minuscule amount of paint that I've got will last me through the job. One thing I have noticed straight away is that paint was standing just with its lid off literally for 5 minutes, and a skin has formed already because it's in direct sunlight. So I've had to bring the lid up and the stirrer, and I'm going to have to manage that very carefully, otherwise I'm going to end up losing most of the paint to a skin. Right, job's a good one. It's taken me about 2.5 hours, I suppose. I've got my patented log lock just to give an extra bit of weight and stability. Let's take you up the top here, show you what's been done. Yeah, this ladder is working very well. It's really stable and it just allows me to get above the roof line. So I've got a nice bit of grey all along the edge now where the rust was forming. It wasn't serious rust at all. There's absolutely no evidence that it was rusting away to the very edges. It was just like a surface coating really, but I suppose it's the start of something on an edge that could over time get worse and worse. So I'm just hoping to delay the process really. And I know I haven't done it properly. I know there'll be people out there, the experts and the not so expert as people as well, who'll be saying, oh well, you should have cleaned all that rust off properly using a special liquid and a wire wool, and then you should have put anti-rust inhibitor on first as a primer, and then you should have put 2 top coats on. I don't care. I really don't care. This is just my attempt at slowing a process down. I'm 66 years old. As long as it lasts another 10 or 15 years, that'll do me probably. And then Suntory can use my money to replace the roof if it's that bad. Anyway, just another little bit of DIY. A bodge job. Yeah, Mr. Bodget. Bodget and Scarpa, that's the name of my company. Okay, I've got the other side to do now, which I may do this afternoon because it's only going to take me a couple of hours. Well, I'm happy to say that job's finished. Just had enough paint. So that's all to the good. Can throw the remainder of the tiny bit of paint away, and the brush can go in the bin as well. So one use brush, it was only 20 baht, no point trying to clean it. Yeah, so I've touched up the edge of this all the way along on both sides now. And we'll see how that goes. Yes, it might make the roof edge last a couple of years longer, or it might not, who knows. But for 4 hours work and 300 bahts worth of, well, not even 300 bahts worth of paint, that was the whole tin. But for a few bahts worth of paint, it's worth having a go, I think, while I'm still capable of climbing up these ladders. There's a couple of other little jobs I want to do with regard to the roof, or rather the gutters actually. Now, recently when we had a big storm, the end of the gutter got blocked up where the downpipe is. Not by very far, admittedly, only maybe 2 metres, if that. But the effect of it was that the water backed up and it came over the edge. It forced the rather weak, these metal gutters are very weak, they've got no strength to them at all, and it basically forced the gutter to bend outwards just there where you can see the light reflecting on it. That's where it was bent, and it was bent outwards and the water's pouring out. Now it's done that before, it did that before just there, and what I did was, and that was on a joint as well. So what I did was I actually put a couple of pieces of wire in there to hold the gutter tight within itself. So the wire is attached from one side to the other, not to the house. It just helps keep the gutter shape. So I want to do that for a couple of sections on this side in the middle of the brackets, because that's the vulnerable part of the gutter. That's the weak part, the weakest part of it, where it's going to bend. So I want to put a wire support there and repeat it on the other side. So when we get really heavy rain and a little bit of a blockage at that end and the water builds up, I'm hoping the gutters will retain their shape and the water won't come pouring over the edge like it was doing the other day. And if I've got the time and the energy, the inclination and the wire, I might just carry on along actually and put a support in the middle of each section until we get to about halfway, because that will certainly help it, I'm sure, in the long term. Anyway, that's for another day and another bit of filming.